I hope you can see it. So my presentation is titled Using the NSM to Unpack the Semantics of Economics. And let me start by saying that this is a joint, very extensive collaborative project which myself and this guy in the center, Bart J. Wilson, have been doing for the past 2 years now. It's a very extensive and collaborative project, and the first interdisciplinary study of this kind, bringing together linguistics and specifically semantics, then economics and philosophy. We were also privileged to be collaborating and to receive the input of Professor Vernon Smith, a Nobel laureate in economics. So I was approached by Bart, and via Anna Wierzbicka, obviously they put us in touch, and we started this collaboration. And I was very surprised to find that at Chapman University, which is where Bart J. Wilson is professor of economics, Vernon Smith is also an emeritus professor. So I had the opportunity of bringing the NSM forward and collaborating with him on. So we have been working on this foundational treatise of economics, which is Adam Smith's Wealth of Nation, an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nation, which is considered by economists as really the foundational treatise of this discipline, and is also a key text for Anglo thinking and English discourse as it is nowadays in its current manifestations, particularly when you consider that English is the international language of business and finance, as well as other domains. So it is really important to understand what Smith actually meant, because he's considered to be the father of economics as understood. Why was I approached, and where does the NSM come to play? They really wanted to elucidate the meanings of certain fundamental principles of economics which can be identified in Adam Smith's texts. So we were trying to elucidate the meanings of the principles of economics as theorized by Smith in the 18th century. And they also wanted to demonstrate the applicability of these principles to the present time. But more importantly, perhaps, they wanted to use the NSM to resolve a number of interpretive ambiguities in economics, and to rehumanize economics. Okay, so putting people at the center, and I'm going to explain why this is important in a second. The NSM has enabled us to substantially broaden the target readership of the original text, producing a parallel text that is phrased in simple and cross-translatable words. Now, the NSM has enabled us both to make Adam Smith's text accessible to 21st century non-experts in economics, okay, and also non-native speakers of English, because we could take advantage of the cross-translatability of the NSM. We also wanted to create a text that could summarize the fundamental principles of economics in a way that is more suitable for international discussion on economics, particularly if you use minimal English or English NSM for intercultural mediation, and without relying on idiomatic English discourses and expressions on economics. So the project consists in a number of operations. From the linguistic point of view, there were two linguistic operations. The first one was meaning elucidation, as I said. The second one was textual rewriting through the process of reductive paraphrase. The original text, The Wealth of Nation, was used as conceptual reference and textual evidence for the semantic explications, the parallel explications which we produced. Just to clarify, the parallel text is not intended to replace the original, but to function as a sort of explicative guide that can help, for example, first-year students in economics to understand the fundamental principles of economics that they approach for the first time in a clearer and more precise fashion. And in the end, we have come up with the longest text ever written in pure NSM, comparable only to Anna Wierzbicka's Story of God and People, written in minimal English, because we basically paraphrased and elucidated the first 7 chapters of The Wealth of Nations, book 1, which is a very, very long project. So it's a pretty ambitious project. What are the characteristics of this new text that we produced? So we created 14 and more semantic explications for every fundamental principle of economics which we identified in the text. We also used a specific template divided into small conceptual sections following the templates that are used regularly in the NSM framework. Now, this is a new application of the NSM, so we had to come up with a different template for economics. We made a sort of concession to pure NSM only in the headings, which do include words from ordinary English to improve readability. I'm talking about words like make, different, obtain, or have, which is no longer, as we know, considered a semantic prime and cross-translatable, but nonetheless is there. On the contrary, the text is written in pure NSM. Differently from the original texts produced by Smith, there are obviously no rhetorical embellishments, but the NSM as it is has permitted us to create a text that has cohesive and coherent devices, just like a normal text. So it functions effectively as a kind of explicatory guide. The semantic inquiry led us to an incredible discovery. So in our process of textual reproduction and paraphrase, we followed Smith's argumentation and exposition strictly and rigorously. The length of the explication, in line with the NSM framework, increases progressively, and it is directly proportional to the conceptual and semantic complexity of the principles which we identified. The more complex principles, which come later in the text, are demonstrably based conceptually and semantically on the basic fundamental principle of economics presented by Smith in the plan of work, and I'm going to show you what this is. Perhaps more importantly, we have identified a shared semantic core in all these explications following Smith's argumentation. So we could create cross-references in the text because we have found out that certain primes recur in the explications. For example, want, people, do, feel, and I'm going to stress the importance of feel in economics shortly. Something or thing, as Alexis, kind, live, say, human transactions as speech acts. People exchange things, they say something to one another, and most importantly, be someone's or mine. So Andrew and Cliff's paper on possession, the semantics of possession, was incredibly helpful to elucidate the meaning of private property, in inverted commas. The new text that we have produced clarifies and simplifies numerous Anglo-European concepts which were originally expressed by Smith and are currently used as technical jargon in economics. They make them much more intelligible to anyone, and importantly, we do so without employing words like division of labor, the extent of the market, power of exchanging, the value of goods, necessaries and conveniences of life, the water diamond paradox, capital and capitalism, or the supply and demand curve. Why is it important to rehumanize economics, and what is the role of the NSM in this process? We want to question the largely shared view of economics resting on a utilitarian and selfish view of individuals wanting to accumulate more and more. Economics isn't just about money and about wanting things, more and more things, right? The ideas reflected in the current meanings of the English words capital and capitalism, they are demonstrably in contrast with what Adam Smith actually meant in the plan of work of this treatise when he talked about the necessaries and conveniences of life. What is the great work of Vernon Smith, and why did he receive the Nobel Prize? Precisely because he wanted to rehumanize economics in a number of experimental games, some of which were conducted in the ANU as well. So he noticed that people wouldn't act exclusively in their self-interest, but they would share equally and fairly, so which is why he became interested in Anna's work on fairness and its Anglo significance in English meaning and culture, but most of all emotionally with the other participants. They would share certain amounts of things which they accumulated. And here we go. So the role of feelings and people in economics, you understand the importance of introducing feelings in economics. By introducing feelings, we introduce variability and unpredictability in a discipline that before that was interested in money and the accumulation of things only. But perhaps more importantly, economics, we basically lay bare, we shed light on the inherently human component of economics, because feelings are inherently human, which is why Vernon wanted to rehumanize economics. And the importance of feelings, it is no coincidence, it had already been emphasized by Adam Smith in a different treatise, The Theory of Moral Sentiments. So the two are connected, and the two are brought together in humanomics. It is an understatement to define this as a revolutionary idea. And it's a nice coincidence that the NSM has the tools to rehumanize economics. NSM has concepts like people, feel, want, things of different kinds, live, be someone's, right? These are nicely NSM primes, okay? So the human nature of economics emerges clearly from the new parallel text written in NSM. And it's also important to say that, you know, the semantics of economics is quite a new idea, because we are claiming that there are specifiable meanings in economics which are not intuitively clear, as understood by native speakers of English, and most of all, not universally applicable. So it is something that needs to be explicated. There's some semantics in economics. I'm going to go very quickly through a number of quotations from the original text. So Smith talks about the necessaries and conveniences of life. He emphasizes the importance of people exchanging things and exchanging the surplus part of the produce of his own labor, which is over and over above his consumptions. He talks about the division of labor, and he talks about money becoming in all civilized nations the universal instrument of commerce. But he also talks importantly about the fact that by sharing the things that they have, people can do something good for each other. The division of labor and exchange enable people to do something not only for themselves, which is how it is traditionally understood in economics, but also for everyone. So I'm quoting the very final part. He supplies them abundantly with what they have occasion for, and they accommodate him as amply with what he has occasion for, and a general plenty diffuses itself through all the different ranks of society. I'm reading the bottom part of this slide. So we came up with 14 principles of economics so far, which you can see here. They are referred to the first 4 chapters of The Wealth of Nations. And I just wanted to show what the NSM can do. And I'm going to read the first explication of the very first foundational principle of economics, which is completely different now because it emphasizes the role of feelings and of people and of feeling good and of living well, right? So people want to have things of many kinds to live well and to feel good. It is like this. All people want to live well. All people can feel something good if they can live well. Because of this, at many times, people in many places want things of 2 kinds to be theirs, the necessaries and conveniences of life that Smith theorized. People want things of 1 kind to be theirs because they can't live well if they can't do something with things of this kind as they want. At the same time, people want more. They want some things of another kind to be theirs because they want to feel something good. We need things that make us feel good as well. They can feel something good if they can say about things of this kind, this is mine. In pure NSM, now imagine this explication used for pedagogical purposes in an introduction to economics course or in intercultural mediation courses on business, English and economics with students with different lingual cultural backgrounds. They can read it in their language and they can approach the importance of people doing things with other people and wanting things of 2 kinds, not only because they need them, but because they make them feel good. The importance of feelings, which has been terribly beloved in economics. What about the division of labor, for example? When people, many people in a place do some things at one time, it can be like this. Someone does something of 1 kind, someone else does something of another kind, some other people do things of some other kinds. Because of this, they cannot do many things of many kinds at the same time. They can do one thing of one kind for some time. And what is the consequence of this? If all these people can do something of one kind for some time, not many things of many kinds at the same time, it can be like this. We can all do something of one kind for some time. When someone does something of one kind, this someone knows how to do it well. The improved dexterity and knowledge that Smith talks about. Because of this someone can do much more and increase productivity during this time. And this is the importance. This is very good for all people in this place in component H at the very end of this explication. The plenty and abundance of economics is truly a social science. Finally, people exchanging things. Now, why do people exchange things, according to Smith? Because they know that they can't obtain whatever they want, the necessaries and conveniences of life, simply by the produce of their own work. Therefore, by specializing the production of one single thing, they can obtain other things which they want through barter and trade. Okay, so people know that it is like this, that many times when someone thinks like this, I want some things of some kinds to be mine, not all these things can be someone's things because this someone does something of one kind for some time. Because of this, and many times this someone can't not be with many people in a place of one kind for some time, the market. They all want some things of some kind to be theirs. When this someone is with many people in this place of one kind, this someone does something with these people, doing something together because they want certain things. That's the key idea in economics. When this someone is with many people in this place of this kind, this someone does something. And component E, people know that after they do this, they can say about many things of many kinds, this is mine, not like before. When this someone is with these people in this place, this someone doesn't think like this. I want some things to be mine now. These things are someone else's things. If this someone can feel something good towards me, maybe this someone will say to me, I don't want these things to be mine anymore. I want them to be yours. I want this. It is not through an act of benevolence that people exchange things, but through speech act. And the NSM primes say, beautifully serves the purpose of making this clear. When this someone is with these people in this place, this someone says something like this to someone else. Something like this can happen now. I do something good for you. At the same time, you do something good for me. I can say about some things of one kind, this is mine. You can't say the same about these things. You want some of these things to be yours. If I say now, I want this, some of these things can be yours as you want. This will be good for you. At the same time, you can say about some things of another kind, this is mine. I can't say the same about these things. I want some of these things to be mine. If you say now, I want this mutual agreement, which is what we're trying to capture here, these things can be mine as I want. This will be good for me, acting not only in our self-interest, but doing something which is mutually good and beneficial. After this, someone says this, these two people say at the same time, any kind of human transaction is a speech act. If I want to buy or sell something, I must say how much money people have to pay, or I have to pay for this. I want this. The act of saying is so important. Language plays a significant role here. It is good for people, all people, when something like this happens. All people often do this with many other people in a place. Living creatures don't do this. Bart Wilson, in his book by Oxford University Press, The Property Species, has emphasized the fact that human species is the only species exchanging things, wanting objects, concrete objects. Okay, animals don't do this. You can read this as part of a paper on the conceptual semantics of money, which Anna, Cliff and I presented first at the ALS conference in Australia and then last year in the UK. So what is money? You can see certain things on money. This is revolutionary. If you read Adam Smith, he was the first one to say that money and why it became the universal instrument of commerce, because it is assayed. So you can weigh it and certify and verify a certain money by means of a public stamp. And a public stamp means that there are certain things that you can see and that you can associate with a national community, but also there is a meta discourse, certain nouns. I'm referring to Jen Dow's work on the semantics of money here. There are certain nouns that are used only to talk about money: euros, dollars, dinars, and so on. So there's a meta language on money, and this is important. Words of one kind in NSM. To conclude, it is important to rethink economics as a science of, not the science of money, but as the science of people doing things with other people because they want to live well in the first place, and they want to feel good. The importance of feelings that Smith emphasizes in the theory of moral sentiments. And people can live well if they can have some things of many kinds, if they can say about things of many kinds, the necessaries and conveniences of life, this is mine. Adam Smith didn't just leave us a theory of money, price and sales, but a theory of how people can live well with other people. Economics is on the wrong side of campus, according to Vernon Smith and Bart Wilson. It's a social science. It's part of the humanities, okay? The NSM successfully rehumanizes economics because it has all the tools: living, feeling, people, wanting, okay, inherently human concepts, and permits the production of a cross-culturally valid and intelligible text for anyone approaching the fundamental principles of economics for the first time. We don't have to rely on Anglo-specific concepts like division of labor anymore, or the water diamond paradox, which is quite controversial in economics, but we can use the NSM to engage in a multicultural international discussion on some fundamental concepts that pertain to the interests and the well-being of us all. Thank you very much for your attention. I welcome questions.